All right, welcome back, everyone. Just sort of fine-tuning a few things here. Bear with me. That's weird. That's very strange. So many mysteries in like how certain aspects of YouTube and the Windows operating system interact. Looks like I'm not the only one on playing planes today. Haha. Let's see. Alright, cool. I'm going to turn on voice chat so when I go into the sims that I'm exploring, I'll be able to broadcast. Chat window pop-up is back on the main video screen, so just keep that in mind. Behind the scenes, I've been doing a little bit of research and ordering some components, trying to further improve the stream quality. I don't know if this is the new video card or what, but I noticed in my last video, which I think was the second video I've done since I got the new video card, that there was a strange kind of like jerkiness to the way the graphics were loading on the Sims. And so like I spent probably 40 minutes or so troubleshooting using like all of the performance analysis tools in the viewer, and I just couldn't like pin it down. Like it wasn't the geometry loading, it wasn't the bandwidth, it wasn't the textures, the frame rate. Like, I'll actually bring this up so you can see. It's actually really cool. If you bring up the advanced menu in the viewer and then you go down to performance tools, you can get these 4 different statistics windows. This one probably the most useful, I think. So like UDP data, that's like the bandwidth, and then there's a frame counter too. But it was really curious. I found like my frame rate was pretty consistent, and yet I was getting this really weird jerkiness. I'm sure you'll see it when I when I actually find a good sim for exploration here, because it seems pretty more or less chronic. Dark Justice, okay. Let's try this. Alright, no valid parcel. That's not happening. Everybody having a good weekend? I decided that I'm going to try to like take the weekends off in these videos in terms of sort of heavy intellectual philosophizing, I guess you might call it. So yeah, this is just going to be kind of a fun exploration day, assuming I can actually find Ipanema. Is that like the girl from Ipanema? Let's try this. Don't tell me they turned off flying. Of course they turned off flying. Okay, well, I'm gonna do my little URL trick here. See if I can get past that flying limitation. Okay. Alright. And I'm in the penalty box. Wow, it's pretty high up. Okay, so we just got the pretty standard setup here of a big jungle walls kind of around a remote little island paradise. These are cool. These Venus flytrappy things. Oh yeah, I also messed around with the graphics options in the viewer itself to try to speed things up, but it didn't actually seem to make a difference, so I ended up just going back to the way they were before. But yeah, you can see the frame rate's pretty consistent. I'm getting like 40 to 60 frames per second, which is kind of like what you'd expect with a higher end card. And what I noticed, if you can see that where it's like catching and then it takes a second for like the frame rate to catch up, even though the frame rate's staying consistent, those like jags are happening. And I notice they stop when I just kind of sit there. Hi, Lily. Welcome to the show. So yeah, for some reason, when I just kind of sit there for a bit, wow, look at the salt on the rims of those glasses. That's pretty cool. I wonder if those are actual polygons. I can't get any closer, so I can't actually look. But yeah, so if I wait for a few seconds or sometimes minutes, depending on the scene complexity, the whole scene will load, and then that seems to get rid of that catching problem. So I thought, oh, it's a let's see, what's this performance tools? A scene load thing, right? So I brought up the scene load statistics, and I was monitoring that really closely, and no, it turns out that there wasn't any real connection between the scene loading and this weird jerky graphical thing. So yeah, I don't know. It could just be a viewer update thing, like, because I just installed the latest viewer, and there was a lot of bug patches, so it's possible that they changed the code somehow, and that's the cause of this jerkiness in the viewing. So I don't know. I might be the only person who even is like really annoyed by this kind of thing, but the only reason it kind of bugs me is because I'm using Second Life in a very specific way. Oh, check this out. Yeah, those actual polygons, that salt, those crystals are actual polygons. That's pretty cool. There's even like a little salt pile and a salt dish. That's pretty rad. Wouldn't see that in a standard like first person shooter. This looks like the whole island, just all there is really is a couple of little hangout spots, and then this like open air mansion type thing. Looks like someone left their dog on the beach. He's floating. It's hover dog. It's a nice model. So you can see that jerky animation. So it's like a multi model. I like inspecting these and being able to see all the polygons. It's really cool. It makes me think of like the Matrix or something. Like you know, like when Dr. Smith was fighting with, or not Dr. Smith, Mr. Smith was fighting with Neo, and he like, there was so many versions of him overlaid on top of each other, and it was like that Buddha statue kind of with the 16 arms. So there's like a whole bunch of little details on this sim, but otherwise not super exciting. So yeah, that's Ilha Ipanema. I'm gonna paste that into the chat. Alright, back to the map. Luckily the sim is like pretty fast loading, low resource, so I don't have to worry about going back to plain plains, at least for the time being. When I was fooling around with the graphics stuff yesterday, I was also I was just cruising around on the mainland, and I was thinking, man, it'll be cool one of these days to do a another tour of the mainland and have that be like the video, because it's actually pretty cool to just walk along one of the main highways in Second Life. There's a lot of stuff to see. The sim looks like it has a lot of stuff on it, although I'm always kind of a little reticent to go to these sims that have white terrain, because it's either snow or sand. And I've just seen so many like tropical beach sims or winter wonderland sims that I'm kind of sick of them by now. So I got a little bit of a bias there. This JC Creations, this is probably a shop sim. Let's see if we can go there. Alright, so right off the bat, I feel like, it's a tropical kind of beach. That's funny, I was just complaining about it. This has got to be like hands down one of the most popular sim island variations. But also, I'm going to say this looks pretty cool. I feel like there's a lot of interesting stuff to look at least. I kind of want to check out this lighthouse first. It's been fun over the years seeing like all the different types of lighthouses in Second Life. Probably seen 1,000 different variations. This one's sort of like a medieval, I guess you'd call it like Celtic or Norse or something. I don't know if a lighthouse like this has ever existed in the history of the human race, but kind of cool at least. With some beautiful wood textures. Yeah, see that jerkiness? That's what I'm talking about, where it just like freezes up for a second. And normally like that's something that would be eclipsed by the frame rate. Like if the frame rate's low, then that would kind of be the expected behavior, that you'd have jerkiness like that, like you're watching a slideshow. But if everything's loading and you're having like a 60 FPS, you shouldn't experience jerkiness like that. So I really just don't know what the cause is, and it's not scene loading either, so who knows. Kind of a tiki bar sort of thing happening here, but I don't know, it doesn't feel very realized. Kind of seems like they just sort of started to put it together but never really finished it. Just a tiramisu floating in space. Some gravity-defying books. Yeah, it's like Cyrillic. Well, at least one of them is Cyrillic. Okay, what's this? Some kind of info kiosk? Oh, the sound effects are really loud. This is supposed to be muted. So I guess they're selling these. Tempted to click on these buttons, but alright, let's see. This kind of looks like you can demo an entire structure here. Let's see if it works. Wow. That's pretty incredible. Oh, it's pretty neat watching this materialize. Whoa. Whoa. This is like when you buy a reser off the marketplace. This is how things kind of fill in. Ugh. Yeah, that jerkiness really makes it hard to navigate. Yeah, this feels kind of a little sad because it's like clearly someone put a lot of time and effort into this and is selling these, but like the build quality and the composition and the fact that there are like parts that are just kind of floating in space, so like the reser script isn't fully like cleaning up after itself. Yeah, that's kind of a shame. But a neat system that's powerful enough to where you can navigate with just a button click and load an entire building. Deliberry? No idea what that is. Some social media icons. This maybe is supposed to be the landing point. The teleporter. But the landing point didn't seem to be set because when I first landed on the sim, it put me right where I picked on the map, so I kind of prefer that, honestly. Oh, these totem poles are cool. I mean, I feel like even if it's a really coherent experience, I don't like it when a sim creator chooses the landing point for me. And especially if there's some kind of a glitch or a flaw in that area where you are forced to res on. And also the real problem for me, like if you get stuck in a sim somewhere, these totem poles are awesome. Ugh, come on now. BDSM totem? Really? Jose Carlos. I'm failing to see the BDSM element, but you know, whatever. Yeah, so like if you get stuck somewhere in a sim and you want to do a point-to-point teleport to get out of it, and they have a landing zone for that sim, every single time you try to do a short-range teleport, you will be transported back to the landing point, which is kind of frustrating for me personally, but I doubt a lot of people would even have that problem. And it's not super easy to get stuck in a sim, although when you're exploring, I find that it happens quite frequently to me. Like I go inside of a building and I go like up 3 or 4 floors, and then suddenly I'm like, I kind of want to leave the building, but I don't want to have to walk all the way back down the stairs, so I'd like to just do a site teleport really quickly. Oh, I get it. All these botanicals are for sale. These are like I'd say they're like a 5 out of 10 in terms of quality. Some of them are better than others, but these are kind of like first gen assets, I would say. But if they're cheap, that could make a big difference. Mostly sprite based. Yeah, some of these are a lot nicer than others. Like this one's like an 8 out of 10 or maybe a 7 out of 10. These pansies are nice. Oh my god. Are those morning glories? Ugh. No thank you. Oh, daffodils. Wow, those are great. That's a really high quality daffodil. Like, I've seen a few in Second Life, but that's the most realistic one I've ever seen, even with that, like, the seed head. Or wait, daffodil, is that? That's not right, is it? Daffodil. I think I'm getting my botanicals mixed up. Maybe it says dandelion. There we go. Of course, daffodil, dandelion. So easy to confuse the two, even though they look nothing alike. These dandelions have one of the deepest root systems of any plant, which is kind of a cool thing I learned in Master Gardener training. Also, like, really medicinal, like a, what do they call them? Like a superfood, kind of like nettles. Also just contain an abundance of nutrients, micronutrients, macronutrients. Hey, what is this? Hey, this is Echiops globe thistle. Wow, that's a pretty cool rendering. I've never seen this color. It usually comes in this purple. Usually the foliage is a lot heavier in real life, and the stalks are a lot thicker. About 3 to 4 times thicker than that. This looks like I thought it was yarrow at first. Maybe it is yarrow. Yeah, yarrow, of course. For my, like, test of determining if a botanical is good in Second Life is if I can recognize it. I feel like if it's recognizable, then it's a pretty high quality asset. This orchid, tulips. Not sure what those are. I feel like the flowers are all really high quality, but the oh, there's trees too. Awesome. Quite a lot of botanicals. I'm just gonna paste the SL URL here in case anybody wants to check the sim out. JC Creations. Alright, time to actually go down to Earth, I think. Could use the teleporter. Let's see, flying is not turned off, so that's good. That's always a plus. It's a pretty nice kitchen counter here. Don't see many with like rounded edges in Second Life. That's definitely what I favor. Yeah, nice mason type jars. Fridge doesn't open. Rattan furniture. Seeing this sim really makes me think about how on the internet today, like, when it comes to pretty much anything in any category where it's like whether it's a product for sale or, I mean, I'm thinking more characteristically of virtual assets, but it applies to some real world assets too, like depending on the marketplace. But I've noticed kind of this interesting trend that like, just take the Second Life marketplace for example. There are certain creators who, and I'm sure for anyone who's watched more than one of my videos, even if you've just watched one of my videos, you probably noticed there are certain creators in Second Life who tend to kind of dominate the marketplace. And like, partially it's for a good reason. Like, you know, Applefall, Dust Bunny, to name two of the most popular that just spring to mind. Partially they dominate sort of the asset pool because they're really good. Like, they're super talented and they have their shit together. They know how to market, they know how to edit and like curate their items is the word I was looking for. Not edit, but curate. And the other reason that they're so popular is because they have critical mass. Because it's like when something goes viral, you know, like on YouTube, it gets a certain number of views and then it starts to like just explode exponentially past that point. So although I'd say YouTube's a little different because there are things that go viral which basically don't have that like talent behind it or that curation happening. Like, there's no, see if I can sit in this hammock. That's what I'm talking about. That looks cozy. I think I might just chill out here while I explore the rest of the sim. Yeah, so some things on YouTube can just go viral. But I'm seeing a lot of the same furniture. And virality is determined by like so many different factors. Some of them what you would think of as deserved and some undeserved. And but basically, like, critical mass is when there's like so many people who've seen or experienced the content that it just snowballs. And then because it's snowballing and it has all this inertia behind it, it just gets more and more popular. Even if it doesn't necessarily deserve to be popular. You know, it could be something horrific. It's not always something desirable. Sometimes things go viral because they're disturbing or disgusting or just unbelievable. So it's that in and of itself is kind of a very curious characteristic of how things propagate. But what I've noticed in the marketplace and on like social media and other platforms and stuff is this tendency for there to be like a pretty high degree of bias in virality. And I mean, in the modern era, there's like commercial bias, because capitalism is such a powerful force driving what is considered to be desirable or what deserves the spotlight, from the point of view of the corporations that allow all this stuff to be hosted on their services, So like they do a degree of curation on their own to make sure that the stuff that's going to make them the most money is what's rising to the top. And it's like the more talent is present in any particular category or personality that is going viral, the more likely the corporations are to seize on that and try to exploit it so that they can capitalize on the popularity. And that in turn makes those people who are going viral even more popular because they're being given a priority channel, sort of. And the whole point of this like teardown that I was just kind of thinking about all this stuff, it is that there are lots of creators in Second Life. There are lots of creators on YouTube or all over the internet on whatever service it happens to be that basically are more or less unknown, totally obscure, while their level of capability and skill and talent is of equal greatness, to those on the platform that have been algorithmically selected to be like at the top. So, I mean, you could look at this rowboat, right? It's pretty nice. It's a high quality asset. I mean, someone put a lot of work into it. It's not like perfect. It's got a few little minor flaws, but it's pretty decent. And yet the likelihood of you finding this rowboat on the marketplace versus an Apple Fall rowboat is probably really low because of all those things that I was just talking about. So, I don't know. One of the things I really appreciate about going to Sims like this, where I'm getting to see a creator's kind of like, all the effort and sort of hard work they put into creating this environment and all these assets, is like it's off the beaten path, even though the quality is just as high as, well, approximately the same height as some of the other creators on Second Life Marketplace who are much higher profile. So yeah, I don't know. I just think that's really interesting. There's actually, I want to kind of talk about that more, but I want to find another sim here because I've only been streaming for 30 minutes. This one was pretty cool. So I'm gonna go to Plain Plains because this one is fairly resource intensive. Thank you, Mango. All right, bring the map up here. Probably a casino, some sort, a gaming sim. Havoc Zone. Could be like weapons testing or something like that. Gamma Games. Hey, this one looks pretty cool. What's this? Greenwich Village? It's like a real place, right? This is like in the Bay Area or something. I don't know. Alright, I'm just gonna like paste this URL into the chat so I don't forget right away. Alright, see, is flying turned off? Yeah, no flying, so I'm gonna be hoofing it. Wow, this looks a lot like that New York style sim that I went to. Greenwich Village. I'm really like curious about this. I'm just gonna like quickly do a browser lookup. Greenwich Village. Oh, Manhattan. Okay. Neighborhood in New York City. I thought it sounded familiar. Ugh. I'm pretty cynical about this kind of thing. It's like, if you're American, you will have experienced the sort of phenomenon of New York being considered by many as Americans as the center of the universe. It's like, if it's not happening in New York, it's not real, it doesn't exist, it's not important, it's not relevant. Some people are the same way about Los Angeles or San Francisco, Chicago, whatever. Big cities are kind of just like given this celebrity status, which actually sort of, in a way, gets back to what I was talking about, the algorithmic prioritization of marketplaces and so forth. Or like, the best example I can think of is like Hollywood blockbusters, or like disaster movies. A lot of these movies take place in New York City as if like there were no other cities in the entire North American continent. It's like New York is the only city where anything of importance happens. It's just kind of funny. But the point I was getting to there was just that, like, I feel like New York is already overexposed. People always just love to harp on popularity, and of course, I mean, it's gonna make money, it's gonna get attention and stuff, but I don't know, the real point of everything I was saying in that last segment, on that last sim, was that, like, there's a lot of talented creators out there. There's a lot of amazing places to see in the world and in the virtual world. It's like, why do you just kind of like keep circling back to the same places over and over again, or the same creators? I mean, yeah, they've got talent, but there's a lot of people with talent, and like, do we really want our civilization to be kind of about who you know? And this is a really cool lamp, actually. I would buy this. This is awesome. Monkey lamp. Codex. Animal DJ. It's even got a nice little floor switch there. Oh wow, it turns it on and off too. Script's a little clunky, but with that delay, but that's nothing you couldn't easily fix. If you could edit the script at least. So we're in like a little record shop here. This is a cool old style phone. Let's see what the note says here. The still life deep down and ranges, but on the surface it grieves. At the window side, greenery are a cool reflections on the wide-eyed vessel. Super cryptic. And then there's a recipe underneath. God, look at the details on that little tag clip. It's so detailed, I can't even zoom in. It's like culling the geometry. Damn, that's a lot of polygons. For something that you don't even notice when you're just walking by, you literally have to zoom in that closely to see the details. So, cigarette vending machine. So yeah, everybody's got their own opinion about this kind of stuff, but a derelict phone booth. I personally feel like limiting or hyper curating, that's kind of how I think of it. Whether you're using algorithms or humans to like just select the quote unquote best stuff. That's a cool texture projection display. Although they really missed out on the top there. I feel like it's fundamentally unfair. But I mean, what's the solution? I feel like that's the problem, is no one has found a solution. Algorithms are like the latest attempt at a solution. And everybody's using them. Everybody in Silicon Valley. It's all about the algorithms determining what is popular, what is appropriate, what is profitable. It's all about the technology. So it seems like, I mean, they've done studies and it's pretty conclusive. Most technology driven curation is biased and even racist and sexist in many cases, because the algorithms are not they're not passive, and they have intent, and they've been created by people who are in many cases members of sort of the dominant group, and their predilections, their opinions, their feelings, and their biases and bigotry and all that goes into those algorithms. And it becomes a part of them, and then that is transferred. Ugh, Mango, stop laying on the keyboard. Chinino. So, I mean, there's ethical concerns there too. Well, I did a pretty good job of avoiding philosophy, didn't I? So much for my day off. Wow, this is a really cool... Oh, too bad it's not animated. That would have been so easy to animate too. I mean, it would have been a lot more work. That's kind of a pretty big hurdle to jump over if you're a creator. Usually, if you're a creator, you're good at modeling, or you're good at texturing, or you're good at scripting. It's a really rare instance where you have creators who are good at all of those things. And when I say good, I don't mean mediocre. I mean good, because I think you have to be good in Second Life. If you're not good, then your stuff just isn't gonna perform, you know? Because Second Life is so complicated. And the learning curve is so steep. Little Buddha head. It's the DJ station. Yeah, there's so many solutions to problems that just create more problems. In which case, are they really a solution? I mean, if you're solving one problem but creating another, I don't know, I feel like that's kind of defeats the purpose. That's not really, not valid, I think. So, like, you could. Oh, what's this? An otter? Or a weasel? I don't know, it looks like an otter, but it also looks like a weasel. It's like a Louis Vuitton weasel. That's kind of cool. But I mean, things are going to happen regardless. It's not like. I mean, there's nobody policing these companies, really. And not in any meaningful or effective way. So they're just gonna keep doing whatever they think is best. And then the consequences will sort of trickle down to, it's gonna hit the people, the most vulnerable people first are always the ones who get hit by the fallout of other people's bad decisions. This Mango, seriously, bro, you need to stop rolling onto the keyboard. This theater is completely unrealized inside. Or what was that? Was that even a theater? It's just this chill out theater, but it was kind of empty. There's a theater over here. But I swear I've been in so many movie theaters in Second Life. It's such a trope. Right into the projector room. That's pretty cool. This looks like an old build. And there's no projector in here. I don't know how they think they're gonna show any movies without a projector. No seats either. I guess I'm just supposed to sit on the floor. Alright. So this seems like a concept build, or it's under construction. It's like a 90s era McDonald's. Or maybe 80s. Looks even older. You can always tell by the prices. Let's see what we got here. $3.49. Nothing over $5. Yeah, probably 90s. I'm gonna do an eye in the sky type analysis of the city layout. Okay, did I already go to the central area? Huh. It's like a mini Central Park. I have no idea what this place looks like in real life, so whether or not it's accurate is anybody's guess. Alright, I'm going to teleport to the park here. And these are cool. I like this wacky brontosaurus thing, even though it just took a while for all the polygons to fill in. Yeah, so like, what's the problem really? And all what I was talking about is like, you have hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of people, sometimes tens of millions, and in certain industry segments, I would say there's even like billions, or at least a billion, like with mobile phones. So you've got, like, say, a billion people, and every one of those people is creating content. that's a serious scale problem and a challenge. How do you make it so a billion people are fairly and more or less, well, I wouldn't say equally represented, because that would be disingenuous, but everyone is given more or less the same opportunity to achieve their full potential as creators. And that would include Dust Bunny. Speak of the devil. There's a new devil on Marketplace Street. It's Dust Bunny. It used to be Apple Fall, but a new devil is prowling the street. So yeah, these service providers, they've got a real challenge on their hands. If they've got a billion people and they somehow have to accommodate all of those people to the same degree that they might accommodate their most popular and famous and virulent people that are part of that group. I mean, it's not a surprise that that challenge is so difficult to solve. I mean, obviously, individual human-powered curation is never going to work, because then you basically need an unbelievably large workforce, like a workforce that's fractionally or proportionately matching the scale of the user base. And that is, I don't think that's economically feasible, because if you have a billion users, then you need like what, 5%, 10% of those users have to be curators or content moderators. That is a lot of employees. I mean, you can try to get them to volunteer their time, but at the end of the day, somebody's going to have to get paid to do that job. Not everyone's going to want to do it for free, although some people do that for free. I know there are like certain websites on the internet that operate more or less at scale. I mean, yeah, they have maybe just a few million users, but they rely completely on voluntary moderation. Maybe they just have one or two employees at the top, or maybe a dozen employees who manage the whole thing. These are really nice vending machines. Let's see who made these. Dust Bunny, D-Lab. Really great job on the textures too. This is making me hungry. Is this like tapas? Just like build your own nachos. Oh yeah, nacho bar. There we go. All I have to do is look around. If I spend as much time looking around as I did talking, I could save myself a lot of effort. Okay, so pretty much seen the little park area. Let's see, I need to like get a satellite view here to decide where to go next. Ferris wheel. That's a cool little fountain. What the hell are these? I've seen everything already. This looks kind of cool. Let's see if I can find a seat in here that I can just teleport into. There we go. Kind of a dark upper class drinking establishment here. The really expensive bottles of wine and stuff. I'm sure there's hundreds of bars like this in Manhattan. Yeah, so naturally, like, the response of Silicon Valley has been to use algorithms and use computational power to try to solve that moderation and curation problem, which is a logical response because it's a lot more economical, but it's not fair, and it's almost certainly biased and racist and sexist on some level. And of course the next stage of that, like the Holy Grail, I suppose, is artificial intelligence. I mean, that's why they're putting so much money and energy into developing more and more sophisticated AI, which kind of is like a really interesting topic all on its own. I was just thinking about this the other day when I was listening to a radio show about artificial intelligence, and this one woman was talking about AI, and honestly, like, she was getting it completely wrong, mainly because she was like under this impression that artificial intelligence was something that humans had total control over on some level. And I feel like that's the main thing that people don't understand about AI, is that the goal and the ultimate incarnation of AI is exactly that. It's artificial intelligence. It's an intelligence that does not is not subject to human control or influence. Well, I don't know about influence, but basically it's something that thinks for itself, as opposed to something that we just program to think in a specific way, because that's not intelligence. No one would consider a person who was constantly being told what to do and couldn't think for themselves intelligent. So why would you consider a software computer hybrid, or whatever you want to call it, that is supposedly artificially intelligent? Those are really nice displays, and they look almost real. So yeah, the bottom line is that artificial intelligence is beyond human control and influence. Once you create it, it kind of goes its own way. It's developing in parallel or independently to humans and human consciousness and human intelligence. Looks like there's a bunch of shops here, but they just haven't been fleshed out or populated. So yeah, so far I'd say this was like a nice attempt, but it really just falls far short of a complete sort of picture of Greenwich Village. Well, I've been going for an hour, but I honestly just kind of want to go a bit longer, so I think I'm gonna try to find another sim. So yeah, if you could create an artificial intelligence that could then be tasked or employed or, I don't know, coaxed into trying to solve this problem for Silicon Valley, I think that's sort of the end goal of all this time and energy that's being put into R&D. Octagium. Let's try this. Nope, nope, nope. So that kind of brings up a whole new range of moral dilemmas and ethical dilemmas and stuff. You have like an artificial intelligence that is moderating and curating human created, well, and probably AI created content, and deciding what's of value and what should just be buried under many metric tons of what it considers to be noise by comparison. You know, the signal to noise ratio. Humans, even the smartest human or a collective of humans, has a very hard, I would say almost impossible time determining what is signal and what is noise in terms of sort of uh, a greater criteria of value and analysis that is required in a sort of like a digital age like that we live in. So maybe on one hand it's like only an artificial intelligence is capable of operating at that level and scale. I'm gonna try this one. Kaiwa. Nope. 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 But on the other hand, it probably isn't going to think the way we do in any way, so is it necessarily going to give us the results we want versus the results that it wants? That may just create a whole new way of looking at the world. I mean, I think it's highly probable that an artificial intelligence could probably do a better job than humans at curating and moderating content, and the results that you might get from that sort of curation and moderation. Lunacy Island. Have I already been here? This looks awfully familiar. Alright, I'm gonna try this. Wow, I'm just not having any luck here with accessing Sims. I think I'm gonna steer clear of that, even though I like the sim layout. Magical Island. Gonna try to keep my channel at least NC-17 if I can get away with it. Atlantis Bay, huh? We'll see. Stripper poles galore. Neon stripper poles. Seriously. This is Atlantis. That would probably be better off at the bottom of the ocean with the other one. Another beach paradise. This seems to be the theme today. Sometimes they're just themes. on these tours. Almost 3,000 members. Contest board. Yeah, I don't know. You can just like keep going and going intellectually, like deeper and deeper into the whole like future projection. Man, I've seen a lot of these fortune teller things on Sims. Like, I didn't realize they were so common. I will become great if I believe in myself. That's nice. This is a pretty high quality build. She looks condescending. So it seems like I'm in some kind of strip club thing. It's good that they're having a firm stand towards banning age play. Kind of, it's weird though to wander into a strip club in Second Life and to have it be totally empty. It's kind of atypical in my experience. Got a shop. Of course they do. I got that weird carnival aesthetic going on. These look like dog treats. I look at this carpet textures and like stretched. So an art gallery. Honestly, I never get tired of art galleries in Second Life, no matter how bad the art is. I don't know, what do you guys think is like the distant future end game of content curation and moderation on the internet and maybe in the greater world at large? Will we all be more or less psychologically restructured by emergent artificial intelligence, which will then pick things for us to see and experience, or at least stack the deck in favor of things that we as a species or as individuals might not necessarily find all that interesting? However, maybe those things would be stuff that we need to see on some level. I mean, could an artificial intelligence ultimately be wiser and smarter than us? I mean, that's kind of an interesting philosophical quandary as well. Like, and at what point do we totally lose all of our agency and just completely surrender to some sort of intellectual force that essentially dictates what we experience in the world? I mean, I'd say that's like a super polarizing question. People are either like, hell no, like, I'm gonna think for myself, I'm gonna be the one driving the vehicle, and then the other camp is like, hell yes, I am so tired of having to think for myself and making bad decisions and spending hours behind the wheel when my car can just take me where I want it to go and I don't have to be the driver. God, this is like kind of eerie. The sim is like completely abandoned, but it's like it's built to be very active, clearly. This is sad. This really reminds me of sort of another lighthouse. This reminds me, this is very symbolic of what I've come to sort of expect from Second Life over the years. I mean, I've read a couple of articles too that were kind of like summarizing the sort of sensation of coming to a location in a virtual world that the analog in real life would be very active, and if it wasn't active, it would be considered a total failure, and it wouldn't exist for very long if it wasn't being continually utilized by people. But in Second Life, that's like a very common situation where you have like a mall that is more or less completely abandoned, or like this, like a athletic field, a swimming pool, a strip club, a dance floor, and nobody is there. It's just a quote unquote ghost town, is what it's often referred to. But then, like, if you check the land traffic, let's see what we got here. This will be enlightening. So, I don't know. I think, yeah, this is daily traffic. So, 2,824 people per day. So, where are they? That's a lot of people, right? Almost 3,000 people came through here in the last 24 hours. But not a one of them is around right now. Retrospect sim. Okay, I will check it out, but I will do it on my own time and not in a video, because that's where I draw the line, basically. Because if anybody is like suggesting that I view a sim or go there, I feel like it's almost like I'm endorsing that sim or whatever. And since I try to just be completely random in my exploration, I'll have to check that out on my own. But thanks for the suggestion, Yumi. So yeah, I've been going for like an hour and 10 minutes, so I think I'm probably gonna call it a day. But yeah, I don't know. Very thought-provoking, for me at least. I find it so amazing that sims like this exist in Second Life, and that they have for as long as I've been using the platform, over a decade. And there's somebody out there, somebody is paying, potentially $200 and something a month to keep this sim running. It's just, I don't know, it's kind of amazing. This is a nice little spot here. I think I'm gonna park my avatar here. All right. Have a good rest of your weekend, guys. Catch you later.